My name is Ron Heklinski. I am so happy to be joined by the athletic director at the great St. Joe High School, Mr. Stephen Anthony. Speaking now of switching over to the winter sports season, you're talking about now. You're coming inside, so it's the elements. They don't prove as much of a factor unless you're traveling somewhere.
Sure.
But now you're coming inside with boys and girls basketball, bowling. We got a bowling team?
Absolutely.
I mean, we got a hockey team?
Oh, for sure. We have a hockey team.
Oh, yeah. We got a boys and girls swimming and diving program, which we're going to talk to Erin Freel, the new coach, today. We have an inside track and field team. We have wrestling, and then we always have cheerleading.
Yeah, it's a great time. Obviously, in high school athletics, the transition periods are busy times as you have teams wrapping up and moving into the playoffs. And then you have, of course, the winter sports starting with their practices and games. But I'm looking forward to the winter. All of those sports that you just mentioned are looking forward to good seasons. And, just another group of wonderful coaches that are leading our programs in those areas. But certainly excited about basketball and moving inside and again, having those teams compete here, it's going to be a good season.
When you talk about basketball in the state of Indiana, and especially in the city of Indianapolis, Indianapolis Cathedral has always been really, really good. But we had to get creative in how to fund those a little bit. And to be honest with you, I reached out. We had the passing of our great player, Dave Kuzmits, in 1973, played for Notre Dame for 4 years after he left St. Joe. And I reached out to a lot of our players from 1971 to 1975, that 5-year period when Dave was a major part of, and the teammates played with Dave. I said, guys, we want to broadcast these games. St. Joe's going to be great this year. If you thought they were good last year, St. Joe's going to be really good this year, because when you talk about coaches in your building, Eric Gaff is up there with the best of them. And they said, what do you need, Heck? And some of them I haven't seen for 50 years. Mm-hmm. They said, what do you need? Now, you talk about when you were a kid and you played in whatever sports team you played, and then go back 50 years and say, and you can call your friends and you can say, hey, remember when we did this? Remember when we did that? Or I need some help. Mm-hmm. And these guys, these St. Joe guys, stepped up without hesitation and said, whatever I can do.
Well, it's a great story, and it's not surprising, because I think, one, that's what sports are all about, the commitment and the connection you have with teammates for life. I've experienced that in my life, and with my college teammates. But not a surprise, and again, it's also a sign of what St. Joe is all about, and the connection and the community that we have. We're here for 4 years, but we're here for life, and really thrilled that your teammates step forward for their teammate in honoring him, and are supporting St. Joe athletics moving forward. So that's, again, it continues to add to the list of reasons to be proud to be at St. Joe. And I really appreciate your support, Coach, and your teammates' support, and looking forward to the season.
So one of the things that I think that is important is teammates. Teammates being in this room, and the coach is going over the scouting board. And by the way, we're in the Craig Ryder room. Are you kidding me? Craig Ryder and I went to high school together, and his family was amazing. They have the naming rights to this room. And for me to be able to sit in this room and talk to you and your St. Joe people in the Ryder room, it's amazing. But when you can think about your teammates, and you have this understanding that, yeah, man, we got this game tonight. Coach is telling us that they play a 2-3 zone. They can do this, they can do that. And you got teammates sitting next to you, and you know that you're fixing to go into that game, that war, and you got your guy next to you. And that guy next to you is not only your teammate for that night, but he's your teammate for the rest of the season. He's a teammate really for the rest of your life. Right. And that's where I think athletics and the ability to bond and the ability of coaches to create that kind of culture is simply amazing.
Absolutely. You talk about the important things about St. Joe athletics, and the things that I really stress and focus on with my coaches is absolutely that: student-athlete experience and team culture. I'm a firm believer if we have those two items, if we take care of those areas and do well in those areas, we're going to win in competition. But more importantly, the student-athlete experience and the team culture is what I stand for. You have a great example of how those two really brought your team together for life, 50 years after graduation. So, again, those are the things I look for. Those are the things we strive for, and those are the things that make St. Joe winners in competition.
Good luck in the winter sports season, Mr. Anthony.
Thanks, Coach. Really, again, appreciate your support and the partnership, and we look forward to having you at St. Joe this winter.
The heartbeat of the Huskies will be back in a minute with our new swimming and diving girls and boys coach, Erin Freel. Welcome back to Regional Radio Sports Network, and I am really, really lucky to be joined by the St. Joe boys and girls swimming and diving coach, Mrs. Erin Freel. And you're also the assistant director for mission advancement, correct?
I am, yes.
Talk about what that is.
Oh, well, I call myself a storyteller for St. Joe. So we make sure that our faculty and staff are feeling taken care of, that we're loved, but we also go out and relate to the local community and make sure that they know what's happening at St. Joe and all the wonderful things our students and faculty are doing.
Yeah, so I love the mission, and I've already read it once, but I love the mission statement. You're transforming students in heart and mind through Catholic education. I think when kids can read that every day, I think that's literally amazing, right?
Right, and these kids are absolutely incredible. We believe very strongly this year's theme is discovering our gifts, right? And so St. Joe is all about helping kids discover those gifts and then share them boldly with the world. I think we can change the world through a Catholic lens through what we do with these students.
So did you get hired at St. Joe first for the assistant director for the mission advancement, or did you get hired as a swim coach first?
I was hired as a swim coach first.
And we found you a job.
Yes, it was wonderful.
That's literally amazing. You're in the building every day. You get to see the students. You get to see your athletes.
Yes.
And so you're a 2000 graduate of the Air Force Academy.
I am, yes.
Talk about your experience there.
Oh, it was a really interesting place to be from. I went from 1996 to 2000. We're outnumbered 9-1, women to men, or men to women, I mean. So it was a wonderful experience. I ended up becoming an intelligence officer after my service there, and 9/11 happened shortly after I commissioned and was trained. So I am a combat veteran as well of Operation Southern Watch, Enduring Freedom, and Iraqi Freedom.
Yeah, that's so when you put everything in perspective about working with young people, and then to know that you were involved at some point in those wars, that's amazing, and you probably have great insight to share with your student athletes, right?
Absolutely. These kids are really interested in service overall, and I have to say that that's a continuing theme throughout St. Joseph. These kids want to give, and so they're interested in all aspects of service. And so I try to provide any mentorship to any young people that are interested in military service.
So when you talk about being the swimming coach, obviously, to be a swimming coach, you have to have a swimming pool. Mm-hmm. And obviously, when I went to the old St. Joe High School, we never had a swimming pool, but we did have a swim team. Obviously, we built this beautiful building here, and you know what? At the end of the day, the architects say, we forgot to put a pool in. Now, you're the swim coach, so where do you practice? Where do you work out at?
Well, historically, we used to work out at Notre Dame. So we had a relationship with them there, with the Rockney Gym and then also with Rolf's for our divers. However, COVID ended a lot of that relationship. And so we are very, very lucky that we have a St. Joseph graduate serving as the swim and dive coach at Riley and has welcomed us with open arms over at Riley High School.
So, and I mean, that's amazing that you can do that. But the fact that you don't have your own facility means that you only have a specified, amount of time or a block of time to go there and practice, right?
Yes, we actually get kind of the last choice of slots. We're blessed to have this space, but 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is challenging for these young athletes to work around. I appreciate them letting us in the doors, but if I had my own pool, we could do morning practices, we could do right after school practices, and these kids could be back home ready to have dinner with their families at 6 p.m.
Yeah, and without question. And as I told you before we went on air, I had a son that was involved in swimming, and getting up and taking him for a 6 a.m. to 7:30 practice, and then he practiced after school, and to see his times because I believe. When you're a swim coach, it's about times, right?
Absolutely.
It's about that stopwatch and to see his times improve because he was in the water so much.
Right.
So when you look at competition and competing, is that a hindrance to you?
It can be. We work really diligently to go around it, and I have to say my kids are extremely dedicated. When they are on deck, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., they are 100% all in. That does make a big difference. We don't have any wasted time in the pool. We say every minute in the water counts.
So, talk about, first of all, your girls swim team. Talk about your girls swim team and your divers. Tell us, some of their names. Tell us what events they are and how good you really think they might be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, my girls. These are inspirational young women. We have team captains, Ana Paula Valicios and also Abby Hale, and they have been leading this team strength to strength already. We have our first competition on Tuesday, and I'm really excited to see what they can do. Ana Paula is a butterfly specialist, and then I have Molly Arnold, who's one of the strongest breaststrokers in the Michiana area, and she's going to be really, really incredible in competition this year. I have a really strong cadre of swimmers, Molly Sanchez, Yuretsi Ortiz. I have Mara Parrish, who's a freshman coming to us I think she came from St. Joe grade. And I tell you, she's going to be ready to throw down on the 500. It's really incredible. And then I've got a whole swath of brand new people. And they are impressing me incredibly. Jessica Dietering is just incredible. I've got Diana Montoya Gonzalez and Sienna Quist has been putting in the time and the effort. Elizabeth Helm is a real sweetheart, and I expect to see her excel in the breaststroke. Now, my divers, Mary Glenn is a returning diver who's just going to do incredible things in the water. She already has 6 dives and an amazing inward grouping. And then I've got a couple of new beginners that are really proven to be hard workers. Olivia Albert and Annabelle Gibbs are showing up and doing some great stuff. In fact, Annabelle Gibbs' father, Joel Gibbs, coached for 3 years in diving for St. Joseph, and he's going to be returning to help us out.
That's really, really good when you get some former either swimmers or parents of swimmers that are really qualified that will come over. And speaking of the boys, what's our boys team look like and our boys divers look like?
Oh, they look fantastic. I am putting a pin in the boys divers. I'm very excited about the prospects there. But both of our boy divers are currently finishing out their time on the St. Joe football team. And of course, we hope that they run all the way to the state championship. So I will try to patiently wait for them to make my boards. Now, the boys team is led by Charlie Helm, seniors Charlie Helm and Tim Freel, my son. And they are both incredible athletes. Charlie is an all-around great swimmer. Breaststroke and 2IM is where he usually lives. And Tim is a distance swimmer, so he's going to be rocking the 2 and the 5 for us. And then I've just got a really strong cadre of boys there, too. You know, Jack Erdman has been showing up consistently for 4 years and putting the time in the pool. He's going to be a strong 500 contender. I've got Israel Lara, his brother Raul Lara excelled for us, and he just transferred in this last year. So we're really excited to see what he can do in the pool. Matthew Albert is going to be doing his 4th year here. Caden Clifford. Really, it's going to be incredible. Joey Neeser, it came to us from football and really excelled, and I'm expecting to see him really kill the 200 relay in the 50.
When you have a chance to be here for a full year and you can work an off-season program, will there be areas or pools in the summer where your athletes can train at and work at and things like that?
Well, we're hoping to expand our offering of pool time. In the meantime, I usually encourage the strong swimmers and the ones who are interested in training year round to go join one of the local swim teams like Michiana Marlins or Irish Aquatics. I coached myself for Irish Aquatics before coming to St. Joseph, and it's a great team to work with.
What brought you to South Bend?
Well, my husband got reassigned here. He is still an active duty officer. He is the professor of aerospace studies at Notre Dame and the commander of the ROTC Detachment 225.
Yeah, because I've seen that you've done some coaching in Alaska,
Yes.
in South Korea, in Hawaii, in Maryland. So I just got to straight up ask you, why would you leave Hawaii? Why would you just say, honey, stay in Hawaii? Or if you're got to go to South Bend, I'm staying in Hawaii.
Well, he came from a very high pressure situation. He was serving on the Pacific Air Force's staff there. And when we got the call that he was going to get to return to his alma mater, Notre Dame, and get to command the ROTC detachment as the finale to his 30-year career, we could not have been more thrilled. Every once in a while, maybe around January, I regret Hawaii.
No. When you open up your back door and you're getting ready to go to work, and there's 5 inches of snow and ice and everything, you're saying, "Where aloha?" You're saying aloha to yourself.
I know, Melikilikimaka.
Yeah, isn't that Merry Christmas? That's Merry Christmas,
It is
right?
indeed,
See, I know.
yes. See, you got the
No,
Hawaiian.
I mean, not only do I know Polish, but I know some Hawaiian language. So, what does and I know, swimmers. They have if they're really, really into swimming and they love it, they have an important diet regimen that they use. It's not only what they do in the pool, but it's other things that they do. Talk about some of those other regimens that they may have.
Yeah, one of the biggest problems that we have for swimmers is that they don't eat and drink enough. And so that is one of the biggest things that my kids talk about. We talk about keeping your bucket full. The things that fill it up are good food and plenty of hydration, good sleep, and making sure that you're hitting your weight room. The things that deplete it is, cutting yourself short on sleep, calories, and water. So we focus a lot on that.
Yeah, no, that's really important. The old days of athletics, like nobody ever talked about that to us. I mean, get to practice hard, go home, do what you got to do. But now the hydration part of it, the calories, the protein that you must take, the weight room. Do your kids lift during the season?
They do. We lift 2 to 3 times a week. So they lift on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings at 6:30, and they get stronger and stronger every season. We lift in the off season to a limited extent to make sure that they're staying nice and strong. We work a lot on core strength, a lot on back strength. We have a great partnership here with Coach Scott Pearson, who programs for us.
So they come in, they lift at 6:30 in the morning, get their work in, get their showers, and then go to class, right? Mm-hmm. That's dedication, isn't it?
It absolutely is. So they're giving me 3 hours on most days.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, we want to, first of all, thank you for coming back to South. I was just kidding about the Hawaii thing, although I'm not so sure you really wanted to stay in Alaska, did you?
No, well, we absolutely loved Alaska.
Really?
It was a fantastic place, very sporty, it really thriving population. Similar, actually, in climate to here, a little less sunlight.
Well, we're excited that you are the coach here at St. Joe. St. Joe is just a wonderful place. I graduated in 1974, and my teammates, all we talk about is our time at St. Joe. Mm-hmm. The old building, no air conditioning, and we say, man, these kids at St. Joe today, they're soft because they got air conditioning, they got great facilities, they're soft, but they're not really soft. They have great coaches here, and you fall into that category as our swimming coach. So congratulations on the job, and then good luck to you, this year.
And thank you so much. And I appreciate the legacy of team culture and brotherhood, sisterhood that you and your classmates have instilled, because it is definitely carried forward into now.
Yeah, no, it's something you never really think about, because you just get up, you go to practice, you hang with these guys, and then when you graduate, then the phone calls keep coming. Hey, how are you? How's your family? Blah blah blah. And then you wake up one day and it's 50 years later.
Right.
But you're still having those same conversations, and you're still talking about, remember when this happened, remember when our coach said this or whatever. But that's why St. Joe is so special, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is Erin Freel, and we wish her the best this year. Thank you so much for being on Heartbeat of the Huskies. We will be back with our wrestling assistant coach. We're going to talk our third segment here with Logan Edwards. Logan is the assistant wrestling coach here at St. Joe. The head wrestling coach, Logan Wishart, put this detail on Logan Edwards to come in here and chat this up a little bit. And Logan, it's your third season as an assistant wrestling coach. You are a student at Notre Dame, right?
Yep, currently a graduate student at Notre Dame, yep.
And you were an NCAA Division III wrestler at St. John's University in Minnesota.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Coach Heck does his homework once
sure
again.
Sure does.
Talk about growing up and wrestling and being so disciplined to do that, and then going to the college level and carrying that on at the college level.
Yeah, wrestling is one of those sports that just is it's a really cultural sport. It kind of gets in your blood at an early age. I come from a wrestling family. My grandpa coached at the high school that I went to, and then my dad took that over. My grandpa unfortunately passed before I was born, but my dad took that program over, and then he eventually stepped away to kind of help raise my brother and I. But he loved wrestling. Always, we grew up going to all the home duels, and so it was just kind of in my blood. I actually took a break from wrestling. I started in like pre-K. And I wrestled through fourth grade.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You were a wrestler in pre-kindergarten.
Pre-kindergarten, yeah.
About that tall.
About that, yep. Started
slamming people on the mats.
I don't know if it was slamming at that point, but it vaguely resembled wrestling at that level.
That's so cool.
Yep. So I wrestled through fourth grade. Then I took a break. It's a hard sport, even for the little guys. And then I came back to it in high school and fell back in love with it, and then wrestled all the way through college.
So my take on wrestling, of course, I was a basketball guy, baseball guy, played a little football, but my take on wrestling is that it is probably the most demanding sport that I can think of, and the discipline that wrestlers have to have when they're fighting to make weight.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure, and you can explain this, to our listeners, when they're fighting to make weight, because I always think that's not really healthy when you have a 16-year-old kid whose frame can carry 170 pounds, but now he wants to wrestle at 155.
Yep.
And I don't know about the health factor, but I know that that kid has to be so disciplined to understand what he eats, what he drinks, and what his weigh-in is going to look like. Talk about the health aspect of that first.
Yeah, for sure. There's this old adage. If I were to be up here and say I play wrestling, that would sound really funny. And there's a reason we don't say we play wrestling. We wrestle. We're wrestlers. And it's really because it's such a all-encompassing sport. It requires your whole self, your diet, your mental capacity, and not even to mention the physical capacity. But wrestling, it also has has the reputation of being a tough sport, sometimes to the detriment of its athletes. And that's something that they are actually currently working really hard to push back against. There's now regulations on how much percent of your body weight you can lose a week. So a wrestler might weigh in 1 week, and then they get this descent plan. They can lose 1.5% of their body weight each week. So the state is working hard to ensure that wrestlers are lowering their weight at a safe rate. They come in at the beginning of the year, and they'll do a hydration test to make sure they're hydrated when they're weighing in, and then they put their weight into a calculator and calculate their percentage body fat, and then they have this lowest weight that they can safely wrestle at. So they're just kind of putting these things in place to ensure that people are doing it the right way. And because I think a lot of people have this bad concept of wrestling, and it ultimately pushes them away from the sport. So in an attempt to grow the sport, they're really trying to crack down and making that a safe activity.
Yeah, I think that's really comforting for parents or anybody who's involved with a young wrestler, either male or female, to have that understanding that everything is regulated, and we're going to measure body fat. We're going to measure intake of how much water or liquids you take in, and it's all calculated as to what we think is the safest number for your son or daughter to get down to. But I also think this. I also think in a sport like basketball, I think in a sport like football, you can maybe hide behind somebody on a play. You can take a play off maybe. In wrestling, there's taking no time off. It's you and that other wrestler right across from each other, and it's you and him.
Yeah, mano a mano. I think that's something that makes wrestling so special. It's something that we try to get across to our guys and our girl now. We try to communicate that one of the most courageous things that you will do in your wrestling career is step on that line. That first match, you're going to be so nervous, and you're going to quickly realize that it is just me and this other person and the preparation that we have each respectively done. And it's all going to kind of come to fruition in a 6-minute match. And that's it takes a lot of courage. And I think it's a kind of courage that, unless you've wrestled, it's hard to comprehend. The kind of courage that takes.
Yeah, and I haven't wrestled, but I can certainly comprehend that, because I've been in situations where I've either played or coached, and I'm in front of 10,000 people. But I have a teammate to look at over there, and I know that if I'm a player, that I can't do my job unless he gives me the ball or makes a nice pass, or I set a screen for somebody, or I get a rebound. But the feeling of knowing that there's nobody else, man.
For sure.
You're going to step there, and there's people in the gym, and you're just going to rely now on your technique and what your great coaches have taught you, right?
For sure. Yeah, it's all the preparation. The day before a match, as our guys are going through their hard workout regimen, I'm always in there saying, hey, the hay's in the barn. You've done what you can. Now go out there and do your thing.
Yeah, that's a really cool analogy. So now, St. Joe Wrestling.
Yep.
You're coming off a year to where you've won the most dual meets in the school's history, maybe somewhere around 20-ish.
Yep.
Your culture is established. You've been here 3 years.
Yep.
You walk in the wrestling room. The wrestlers know you. The grapplers know you. See, I know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
The grapplers know you. Talk about your St. Joe Wrestling program now.
Yeah, man, it's been an awesome 3 years. So Coach Wishart and I, so Coach Wishart was an assistant before he became the head coach, but I came in as an assistant when he first took over the program. And man, it's been so fun to watch this program grow and build. I think when Coach Wishart took over as the head coach, they were coming off 2 dual victories in a year or something like that. And then that first year, I think we bumped it up to a 500 record. And then last year, we obviously, like you just said, broke the dual meet record for the school. It's just been really fun to watch the guys develop, especially in this third year where I'm getting to see these freshmen, who a lot of them had no prior wrestling experience, kind of hit their growth spurt, grow into their bodies, and really figure out wrestling as an art. And so we're kind of excited this year to take that next level. Last year, I think we sent 6 guys to the regional tournament. We are yet to send somebody to semi-state in the 3 years. So that's kind of our goal for this year, is to get a wrestler or 2 to that semi-state level and hopefully get them to perform high there and get them to the state tournament.
Yeah, give me some names of some of the kids that are in the weight classes and some of the people we should look for. Obviously, you got to give us the name of your female wrestler, right?
Yeah. So Isaac Grove, he's our junior 165 pounder this year is what he's gonna compete at. He had a good year last year, but has really become a student of the game, a student of the sport this last year. You can really see it reflected in the practice room. Boston Dockery, I think he's either going to wrestle 113 or 120. He hasn't solidified where he's going to go with that direction yet. He's showing a lot of promise in the practice room right now. So it's going to be a fun year to watch those guys compete and see where they're going to end up.
Who's your heavyweight?
So our heavyweight right now is Sam Harrison. He's also a junior. And then we also have a senior transfer, Drew, who he's trying to get his weight down. He's the rare heavyweight that has to cut weight. So he's kind of getting his weight into a space where he can get to that 285 threshold.
Okay, so the heavyweight, the heaviest you can be is 285?
285, yep.
I mean, the word heavyweight was always put in there because it was the biggest guys, right?
Yeah.
There was no. I mean, was there a weight limit?
I think I honestly don't know the weight class history well enough, but I do think it is 285 is kind of what the threshold has typically been. Yeah, let's do it.
Because I think that is a part of a wrestling program that's amazing to me, where they're co-ed now.
Yeah, it is really cool. So actually, too, what's awesome is girls have historically been able to compete in the boys division for wrestling, but in the last couple of years, they've created girls wrestling as its own distinct high school sport, and it's one of the fastest growing sports in America right now is girls wrestling. So like they'll have a girls conference tournament this year, and we'll get to watch her compete there, which will be really fun. Her brother is actually in there as a volunteer assistant right now, wrestling with her every day to get her ready for these tournaments. So it'll be fun to watch her develop as a wrestler as well.
Does this sound familiar to you? Athletics to be the most effective vehicle for personal growth and formation.
Yes, that is something that I firmly believe. Yes,
that's your mantra, right?
That's my mantra. Yes. Yeah.
All right. So you're a student at Notre Dame. In the divinity studies program, right?
Yeah, theology, yep.
So what do you hope to do once you get your degree?
Yeah, so my goal is to either become a teacher, or I really want to get into Catholic higher education and like mission integration. What does it mean to be a Catholic school and offer, good education that is infused with the Catholic identity of a place, which St. Joe continues to do very well.
Yeah, no, St. Joe is amazing from that aspect. And we just, speaking with Erin Freel, our new swimming coach, she's involved in advancing the mission of St. Joe. Mm-hmm. And to be able to come in and talk about how we're developing students and student athletes, because, roughly maybe 2/3 of the students there are involved in athletics.
Yep.
And just to be able to expose them to Catholic education, to me, is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's a special place. Like we close every practice. We pray the St. Michael prayer and
St. Michael the Archangel,
yes,
defend us in battle.
Exactly. It's a perfect prayer for the wrestling team. And we offer our practices to Our Lady of Victory, and we just try to exude life lessons through wrestling.
All right, so you're a student at Notre Dame. When I'm watching a Notre Dame football game, will I ever see you with your shirt off in the student section being passed up to like the 50th row because we've just scored a touchdown?
You probably won't see me there. Oh. No, probably not. Unfortunately, those days are behind me.
Good. So, no, it is so cool to talk to somebody young who is very passionate about their sport. And like you said, that's what you grew up with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your gramps, your dad,
yep.
You, and you're really passionate about it, and you're passionate about dealing with young people.
Yes.
And
yep.
not only teaching young people the sport of wrestling, but teaching young people the sport of life, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yep, for sure.
All right, so our Heartbeat of the Huskies trivia question last time in show number 2 was who were the 2 football coaches in the Michiana area to play as teammates on the 1995 state championship team, coached by the great Frank Amato. And those 2 coaches that were teammates were obviously the great Ben Downey, head football coach in Mishawaka, at South Bend St. Joe, and Mr. Pete Reardon, the head football coach at Penn High School. So if you correctly sent those answers to our great athletic director, Mr. Stephen Anthony, he will let me know. And if you come to a basketball game, we'll get you a hot dog with whatever you want on it, ketchup, mustard, whatever. Here's the question for show number 3. Bada bing, bada bing. St. Joe girls basketball player to win the state as a player and also as the head coach of the St. Joe women's basketball team, win a state championship. And send that in to Mr. Anthony, the athletic director, and let's see if we can get a winner and a hot dog at a basketball game. All you got to do is come up to me and say, hey, heck, I won. It's this person, and get you a hot dog. All right? Again, thank you so much for tuning in to Heartbeat of the Huskies. The athletic department here at St. Joe High School is the absolute best. The coaches that I've been able to interview in these sessions, they're very passionate about their sports. The two that we had today, Logan Edwards and Erin Freel in swimming and diving, both boys and girls, and wrestling. As I spoke to them, the passion was so evident, and then the buy-in from the great Catholic education at St. Joseph's High School. It's an honor and a privilege for me and JP to produce this show once a month. And remember, I've been a liver transplant recipient for 29 years. Sign those cards on your driver's license. Tell them that you want to be an organ donor in case that scenario ever happens to come up. And remember, don't take your organs to heaven. Heaven knows we need them here.